So my name is Leah Kohlenberg. I am the creator of the Art at Work program for Thomson Reuters and the LA Press Club. Um, Also, these are my private students also join these classes. There's maybe one or two in this particular group, but primarily I'm hired by your two organizations to offer art classes for mental health. And so every year we try to restart and reboot in different time zones and at different places, beginning classes so people feel like they can jump in. I really love the reception that we've had this last time. Um, there's generally classes going along all year long, not in all time slots, but I try to keep a few going. Um, and I'll take you through the year, but I love it because I feel like everybody is ready for this at different times. And what I've heard over and over again, this is my fourth class I've taught this week, is, oh, I saw the email and it was just what I needed in that moment. Um, and I want to say that yesterday we had 4 people from LA on our class thread, which was amazing to me. Um, Christina is close, but not as close. It's cold where she is. Um, I'll have her introduce herself in a minute. But one of the things that's really important to me is that we connect with each other, right? There is the mental health of learning to do something that you don't know how to do. And then there's the mental health of like just getting to know your colleagues in a different way and be together. So classes will generally not be huge. You should get to know people fairly well. You should feel free to use the WhatsApp thread in between classes to share stuff. Christina's already been sharing some really neat stuff about her grandmother's art studio. And so this is like the kind of conversation we want to have. Very briefly, I was a journalist in my first life. I'm really old now. I'm like 56, almost 57. Um, my first career was as a journalist. The first 10 years, I worked for small dailies across the US, and I worked for Time Magazine in Hong Kong over the handover to China. I worked for ABC News during the transition from to the new century. And then I got a fellowship teaching journalism in Mongolia when I was 30, and that kind of blew it open for me. I Up until then, I thought journalism was it. This was the career I wanted, and I love it, and I still love it, but I loved it. But I went to Mongolia, and everything kind of changed for me. And I came back to the States at 31 and bought a house, a fixer-upper house in Seattle, Washington, where I'm from originally, and began painting like every room, every wall of every room in this house a different color. And I remember somebody walking in and saying to me, "An artist lives here." And I'm like, "What? I'm not an artist." But I was like, there's a part of me going, "Yes, you are." Even though I did not know that at the time. So my first experiences with art were kind of playing with all this house paint I had in wood from projects. I'd sit and like drip paint and play around with paint and become very mesmerized. And that's it. I decided to become an artist. And that was 25 years ago. But it wasn't long enough ago that I can remember the pain of learning to draw and learning to paint. It was really hard. And there were parts that I was good at, and I knew naturally it's different for everybody. There's so many skills involved in being an artist that you're always good at something and not good at something else, which is a great equalizer, I think. I became an artist. Now I'm a professional artist. That's what I do. I sell paintings and I run an art school. Um, and I have a studio in Portland, Oregon. I get involved in art causes. Art really helped me kind of change my way of thinking and adds to my life. And even in these really difficult days, which I feel are like really hard to get up to sometimes, when I get on a call with you or when I get into my studio, I automatically feel better. So I'm hoping all of this is the same for you. Agatha, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Agata, and I currently live in Gdańsk. I've been in Poland. I've been with Reuters for 3 years, over 3 years now. I've been working as a news reporter, for the Nordic team here. But I've also been getting really into UX research. So that's sort of another part of my day job, even though it's kind of unofficial. And yeah, and this is my second time taking this class. So
Sorry.
no, I'm excited.
Any
So yeah,
advice you have for people taking the class?
just go into it with an open mind, I guess.
Leela, go ahead and introduce yourself. Nice background, by the way. I like she's got a studio.
Hey guys, yeah, I just walked away from my colleagues so that I don't make too much of a noise. I'm Layla, I'm based in London. I am South African. I moved to London last January or 2 Januaries ago, so I've been here for about 2 years. And yeah, I mean, the last time I did art was at school, but it's something that I've always loved, and I've always just played around, whether it's with I want to take up framing this year, actually, whether it's framing or
Nice.
working with acrylics or just doing random. I did this during our break, just random
Nice.
little doodles. I think it's really just good for the brain. And I'm really just wanting to experiment and do something different because I love art and I want to feel more confident in my ability to say, yes, I can do it.
That's fabulous. And you know, it's really just learning it, right? Like we think we should know it.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like we think we should know how to draw. Even people who have a lot of drawing experience are kind of like, yeah, I don't know anything, right? Like that's the feeling art gives you. So I know that feeling very well because I didn't learn to do it till I was 30s. So I remember it painfully, every detail. Bonfi, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bhanvi. I'm based out of Bangalore, and I've been with Reuters for about 5 years now. Actually, I work with the U.S. reporting teams here in the Bangalore bureau, and I usually focus on health and pharmaceutical companies. But yeah, like Lida said, the last time I did this was in school, but during the pandemic, I sort of touched base again to keep myself busy. I love doing something that involves using my hands, and other than some of the, I like sort of remaking these Disney princess kind of cartoons, and so I did some of that during the pandemic to keep myself busy. But yeah, I don't remember the last time I learned the basics of it, so I'm very excited. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the class.
That makes me so happy. Do you know Rashmi H or there's two people in your Bangalore bureau that have taken classes. Oh, I'll have to remember. I'll have to look them up. But we have a couple more students who are in as well. Christina, go ahead and tell them who you are.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm based in the greater LA area. I've been a journalist in the Los Angeles and San Francisco areas over the last about 10 years, mostly covering arts and culture. So that was my entry point into journalism. I wanted to write about artists and the arts. And so I've covered food, music, theater, dance. So I've always had an interest in it, but I did like theater and dance in high school and college, and dabbled in some visual arts, but it was like never a regular practice, especially with like the visual arts. But my grandmother was an artist. I've been going through her art studio as we've been packing up her house. She passed in September, but I found all her art supplies. So I feel like I should use them and honor them by honor her by using them. And so yeah, so I'm here to learn stuff that I didn't learn from her, but hopefully her tools can help me.
And it's very cold where she is. So obviously not all of LA is affected by what's happening, although a lot of people are. So as our LA colleagues come on, we're just going to be as kind and warm. And most people yesterday were a little bit sort of traumatized and shocky, which would make sense. And so our job is to like kind of make them feel loved and supported. Well, our job is to make everybody here feel loved and supported. All right, so let's go ahead and pop up here. I'm gonna pop my spotlight up here. I'm gonna have you, I'd like you to take a piece of paper and just draw a little box, like this blank box on it. I'm gonna have you copy this on your piece of paper, which means you're gonna be looking up and down. Here, I'm gonna pop this up so you can see it. You're gonna be looking up and down right at the screen, at your paper, at the screen, at your paper fairly often, right? Because you won't have it next to you. I'll do it with you so you can see it. But before we do this, I want to introduce some vocabulary for you, visual spatial vocabulary. We're going to talk about what is the difference between the right and the left brain. We're going to talk about what brain we need to get into to be an artist. So, all right, are you ready for this very difficult question? What is that? I get a nose. What is this?
Circle, a sphere.
Yes, absolutely. And if that's the case, what is that?
A squiggly circle.
Leela Dugan, you are the first person who has ever answered that question correctly in the entire 20 years I've taught this class. Congratulations. Give her little balloons. Give yourself little balloons. It's a squiggly circle. So here's what's really interesting. We had this idea of a circle as one thing, right? But really, a circle is a family of shapes. The circle family. It's a group of shapes. And it's really anything that's kind of roundish with no sharp edges. It can be like kind of an oval. It can be big. It can be small. And there are 5 families of shape we use to draw everything. So you can see how the word circle could maybe get in the way of our understanding from a right brain perspective, what a circle is. But if you can expand your sense of the circle to these things, I just saw somebody race by there, Bobby. Is that a cat? Was that a cat racing by? Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it. All right. So there's the circle family. There is the dot family. And dots are just like circles, roundish, but they're filled in. So if this was colored in like this, it would be a dot, right? Okay, there are 3 more families of shape. Before I tell you what they are, I want you to look at your doorway and tell me the shape of a doorway, typical doorway. What is the shape?
Rectangular.
Yeah, rectangular. Exactly. But we do not have a rectangle family of shape. We've got these 3. We've got straight lines, angle lines. I'll give you examples in just a second, and curve lines. And I have a handout, which I'm going to send you all. Straight lines are just literally straight lines. That's not very straight. They can be thick, they can be thin, they can be little, they can be big, right? Angle lines are 2 straight lines put together, widely, narrowly. And curve lines are just curve lines. They can be curved, they can be bigger curves, they can be kind of curled like a snail shell. So between all of these families of shape, you can draw everything. So going back to our little exercise, here you are. What families of shape are here? Hold on, I'm going to put this over here so everybody can see it. And I'm going to move this up closer. There we go. What families of shape are represented here?
Straight lines and angle lines.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. Any curved lines?
Yeah, there's a few like
Here.
here.
Any circles or dots?
I don't see them.
Yeah, no circles or dots. None at all. So you've just got these three groups of shape. I'm going to have you copy as quickly as possible. Let's see how we want to do this. What's here, down here? I'm going to start like this, and then a little bit there. See how I'm using the edge to kind of tell me where things are? I've got this thing. I'm doing this okay. Amazing, considering how many millions of times I've done this. This is my favorite kind of lesson. No, that's not too bad. All right, so go ahead and do it kind of as quickly as possible. And when you think you've got it, hold it up. Go as fast as you can. Use an eraser. Don't do what I did. Don't use a Sharpie. I use a Sharpie so that people can see it better. It's a little bit easier. Obviously, if I make a mistake, I can't erase it. And we all make a lot of mistakes in drawing. So that's in fact, mistakes are part of the process in a way that I think you will find very profound. Oh, and when you're finished with your drawing, I want you to write 3 words about how you feel right now, and then forget about them. Put them to the side. And it can be anything. Don't edit, just be honest. Say how you're really feeling. Good drawing form, everybody. We done? Okay, Christina, hold it up. I'm going to remove this. Okay. Yeah, quickly. We're going to remove the spotlight. It's over here on the side. I'm going to spotlight Christina. So you can see this is the frustration. Oh, great. That looks perfect. Terrific. Okay. Who else? Show us. Leela, let's see if you can. Agatha, show me. Bobby, show me. Hold it up. I'm going to show Agatha's. Let's see. Let's see. Nice. Agatha, was it easier the second time around? Bobby, we can't see it if
Yes,
you've got the
actually.
blur. We can't see it if you've got the blur. Can you turn the blur off? Let's see your lovely background. Oh, yep. I think it's over. Where is that? It's over under video. Yeah. Blur my background. Don't ask me. I'm old. I can barely keep up with all this stuff. I'm just like, thank God for Zoom, which is easy. Here, I'm going to pop up Leela's right now while you're grabbing it. Leela, let's see. Nice. Nice. Let me ask you a question. How hard, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being easy and 10 being difficult, how difficult was this assignment? 2. Christina, 3. 3, 2, 2, 3. Bobby's saying 5. Leela's saying 1 or maybe nothing. Maybe, yeah, 1. Agatha, for you, 1 to 10. 2. Okay. Can somebody tell me what's difficult about it specifically? What is difficult about this assignment?
I think getting the spacing right, like
Yeah, getting things in the right places, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yep. That is one thing that we learn to practice through a drawing practice. So that is a hard thing to do. Anybody find that like you made your lines too big, particularly your curve lines? Yeah. Yeah. So processes that help us, like, so just understanding that this is a very common thing when you're drawing to make things too big. What were you drawing? And if you know, don't tell us.
Oh,
What were you drawing? What were you drawing? What is this?
well, I think I know what it is, but for the purpose of the exercise, I thought it was something very abstract.
Okay, you thought it was very, well, tell us what you think it is, if you know. That's
Like,
okay. I'm about to reveal it
Oh,
anyway.
Okay, like a crinkled bed sheet.
Very, very close.
Ah.
What else? Anybody have any other guesses? I've heard people say trees, waterfalls, okay. So what's interesting is we don't know what this is. Would you like to see what it is? Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Hi, Ani. Good to see you, honey. I know you've
Hi.
been through this before. I'll have you introduce yourself shortly.
No problem.
This
I'll be
is
working on my project. Just wanted to
great.
listen.
This is part of a Picasso drawing of his friend Igor Stravinsky. And the reason you don't recognize it is that, recognize it now? Right? It's a part of the pants of a Picasso painting, drawing. Now, if I were to say to you, I'm going to pop myself up here. And if I had made this assignment, and instead of telling you to draw it upside down, do it in pieces, talk about shapes rather than the thing itself, and I said, okay, you guys, here's this Picasso drawing of Igor Stravinsky. Please draw his legs. How difficult would that be on a scale of 1 to 10? 10. Impossible, right?
100.
Impossible. 100, right? So I'm going to make my point here very quickly, and then I want Ani to introduce herself. So here's the point. The point is that an assignment, you did that assignment and it was a 2, but you didn't know what you were drawing. You were only focused on shapes. And when you're focused on shapes and you know what to look for, it makes it much easier. So part of what we're doing, what I did is just move you into right brain. And I'm going to talk about what that is. It's not what you think it is. But first, Anik, I'm going to pop you up and have you introduce yourself to the group. Let's see. How do I remove? Hold on. I'm doing this old lady thing again. Here we are. Remove the spotlight. And then here you are. I'm going to have you pop up here for a second. Say hello.
Hi, I'm Anik. Agatha knows me very well, to be honest, because we work together. But
yes,
for the rest of the gang, I'm a learning editor with Reuters. I work mainly with the Gdańsk bureau, and I basically teach how to deal with the financial statements, how to deal with snapping, all that things. What is workspace? How it works? That's my son, by the way. He's
hi,
almost
honey.
8.
Nice to see you.
He's been with us also here for 5 years almost, because that's how long I paint with Leah. It's gonna be 5 years in April, and and he's a bit annoyed because he wants to say something. But honestly saying, if you attend those classes, you're gonna do something like this in 5 years.
Beautiful, yes.
And I mean, that's not finished yet, but generally, Leah introduced me to all the concepts and taught me so many things that it's difficult to make a proper list. Nevertheless, I really owe her a lot, not only my mental health, but also the fact that I started acrylic and I fell in love with acrylic, and I didn't know that I can fall in love with acrylic painting. Plus, now we are doing also watercolors. And please, Leah, teach me again, because I completely yesterday, on Friday, I realized I forgot everything. So, so it's good that I am attending those one. And what she will tell or say here about drawing is like basically essential, because drawing is everything. And honestly, anyone can draw. Just we have to move to the right brain, right side.
And we're laughing because your little like anti-mime back there, it's like, like hiding like in the background. Do you want to say something, honey? Do you want to say something to the
No,
class?
he has some interest. He has some thing for me though to deal with.
Gotcha.
So I have.
I'll pop you off. I'll
That-
pop you off here.
per
All right.
second. Thank you.
So wonderful. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what I have put you in right brain. Let's talk a little bit more about what that means. There is the idea, there is the intellectual concept of right brain and left brain. There are ideas about it. Does anybody have ideas about right and left brain? Have you ever heard anything about it? Do you have concepts? Yeah, Bombi, what do you think?
I don't remember which one's which, but I know that one that is the more creative and the other one that's more logical.
Creative. All right, fantastic. Thank you. I'm setting you up because I just want to say this right now, because this is the absolutely universally held belief about right and left brain, and it's absolutely wrong. But it's amazing. And I want you to think about it as wordsmiths, of which you all are, for a minute. This is a false dichotomy, right? You can't be creative without logic. You can't be logic without creativity. So let's break down what's really behind these ideas. The left and the right brain, and I'm sorry, Bombi, thank you for, I set you up for that. I appreciate you. Everybody answers this the same way. I never have anybody answer this differently. And it's amazing. I've taught this really all over the world. We still have this kind of weird, outdated idea. And of course, what we really know is any part of the brain can pick up any function. But for these purposes, let's think of the left brain as verbal conceptual. And the right brain as visual spatial. These are much less loaded terms. They're much less, they have much less baggage attached to them. You might even be wondering what I'm talking about. Verbal conceptual is the side of the brain that learns language. And what that means is, and we're in it from birth. I'm going to pop myself up here for a second. So what that means is, as you start to learn language, you attach a word to a concept. This is a hand, or manos, or whatever languages you learned. Maybe you have 4 different like words that are associated, right, in different languages. This is a hand. And we need to have a picture in our head connected to, right, verbal conceptual. We need a concept in our mind connected to a word so that we can communicate. And it is absolutely the basis for us learning language. That is, and we start by hearing it, right, as babies. And then slowly we're able to reiterate it. I have told this story many times. I have a granddaughter who's 2. And I didn't have kids, but my boyfriend has kids. So I didn't raise kids, and I didn't know this until I met her. How fucking hilariously she's picking up language. Like, she doesn't really say words, but she's talking all the time. Like, so usually what happens is we pick up intonation first. So she'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And then occasionally you'll hear a word, no, like, or blah, 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 down, like, run, right? And so language is this multi-year process. We start by repeating tones, and in her head, she has this idea. She knows the word for hand and head. And then eventually her mouth is able to say it, right? This is like a whole thing. It takes over the brain. Here's a question for you. If is my hand bigger or smaller than my head? Bigger, smaller?
Smaller,
Smaller.
Right. What about now?
same size.
No.
Bigger.
No.
Yeah.
But you see your head, do you see? Okay, so that's the left and the right brain hitting together very uncomfortably. Intellectually, Bombi, you're right. The hand doesn't change size. It's always the same size. But from a visual spatial perspective, my concept of the hand has nothing to do with its actual size. It has to do with how close it is to me or how far away. Can you see how your left brain gets in the way of your right brain being able to draw this. So the truth is the hand gets bigger as it comes closer to you and smaller as it goes away. And intellectually, as you're starting to draw, what often happens is when we know what something is, our left brain concept of it, we lay it on top, we try to draw it that way, and then we don't understand why it doesn't work. The reason that this is happening is that we are creating the illusions of 3 dimensions on a flat plane, right? We can really only go like this, but we have to create the illusion of being able to go this way and this way. And the only way we can do that is to stop thinking of things as what they are and think of them as shapes in relation to other shapes. If I draw this, if I ask you to draw this, what are you going to draw first, the head or the hand? Jump in.
And
The hand? Right.
Yeah.
Why? Does anybody think the head?
No, well, the hand, because it's like in front, it's close.
Yes.
Closer.
Exactly. You can see the whole thing, right? You can see exactly, Christina, very perfectly crystally clear defining that. We have these ideas in our head about like what things are, but like we don't often have the language. But I've heard people say draw the head first for reasons like it's bigger, it's more important, there's more going on, right? But from a practical perspective, you have to get this shape first to be able to get these shapes around it. In a very simple way, it's like this. Right? If I draw a coffee cup on a table, on a wall, right? If I draw a coffee cup on a table, I draw the coffee cup first, and then I locate the line, right? And I don't draw the line all the way through. I have to add it in relation to how I see things, right? So one of the rules of drawing is draw what you see, but also anticipate what's behind it. And by the way, here, my beautiful sketching here, there we go. What direction is the light coming from? Anybody know on this object? Which way? You're pointing, Leela, but I don't know. This way? Right. How do you know?
Because your shadows are on the opposite side.
Right. Well, some of them are, right? My outer shadow is on the opposite side. So very simply, this is, and we're going to review this concept again and again. We all know, we can all kind of intuit that one side is lighter than the other, and probably the side that's closest to the light is lighter, although because this is a 3-dimensional object on the inside, this light also bounces here, which means that this side on the inside of the cup is darker. See that? So we are beginning to understand how light works. And what I found really interesting about asking this question is that almost everybody knows it, but it's hard to actually find the words to describe why, right? So a lot of what I'm doing is filling in blanks for you. So you'll be like, oh yeah, so that you can apply that as a rule across. The rules of drawing are very different. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. The rules of drawing are very different than the rules of speaking and writing. They're very, very different. And the reason that you don't know how to do them is because you've never been taught. Just like if you hadn't been taught to read, you wouldn't know how to read. Just like the many years it took to teach you to write, right? And just like I was talking about with my granddaughter, the many years it takes to learn to speak, we kind of shortcut, we forget that it takes a long time in this system. The other thing my granddaughter does over and over and over again, she does the same damn thing over and over and over again. She will freaking like crawl on I was sitting with my my stepdaughter, and we were sitting on the couch, and the granddaughter just kept climbing over both of us in the exact same pattern, and she probably did it 2,000 times. I'm not kidding. We sat and talked, and she just kept climbing up. But after a while, I was watching her because she was learning how to use her body, right? to climb up. And every time she did a little bit different, like the first couple times she climbed down, you could see her little leg hanging off like the edge of the couch, like not sure where to go. And then she did it, and boy, was she having a great time. She wasn't bored. I mean, it's a little boring for us, right? But for her, it's not boring. It's just getting the input into her brain enough times so that it becomes a habit. So does that make sense? Is that like logically kind of coming together? And if you have any questions or any thoughts about this, please jump in, because it's an incredibly extraordinary concept. And if you're not, and what I found was, I didn't really practice much as a journalist after I began painting, but I did do some writing and editing and training. And what I found was, after I learned to draw, my writing got a lot better. I never struggled with leads. There's something about the micro macro of starting to learn how to draw something, which is very different than our ideas about it intellectually on our left side. That like, as I opened that neural pathway that learns how to look at things this way, it changed everything for me profoundly. I used to want to try to measure it. The truth is, you're all good writers already. I don't need to like make you better, but I will promise you that if you stick with this, it will make you better. It'll make you better at everything you do, because it's going to add to your observation skills. At first, your left brain's going to fight you a lot. And after, it's going to kind of integrate. And because it's new and it feels different, it's going to like, we're going to jump in. How do I say it? Every time I say this, I say it a little bit differently. Every time you like practice it, it's going to feel a little bit, until you learn it, it'll feel a little bit hard. But that little hard, sort of anxious push you might feel in the beginning of a lesson or in the middle is exactly where you want to be. That, by the way, great for brain health as well. So does anybody have questions about that before we go on? Does that make sense? Does that seem logical? So we're going to learn about the logic of the right brain. That's what we're working on today.
Just to confirm what Leah is saying, I really noticed that in last years I became a better editor.
Really?
And, yeah.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
can believe that.
it is helpful. It may completely look like unrelated, but drawing and painting is about construction.
Yes.
And this really it's an practice that does not look really anyhow related to constructing a text or a story or any other message, but it really helps with clarity and perspective.
Right.
So honestly, I can really feel that in my editing skills, and in general. Also, it teaches you patience.
Yeah.
It's like really have to exercise in patience.
How
with
long does
yourself.
it take to learn something? Right? It takes a long time to learn something. Now, here's the thing. Y'all are I love these classes. I brag about you guys all the time, because I'm like, I have the luckiest, like, other art teachers have to take kids in a high school, right? Some of whom want to be there, some of whom don't. And high school students, fine, but difficult, not my bag. Or college students, right? Some want to be there, some don't. You all are extremely intelligent people. You already are, and accomplished, because you're where you are. You're working for a company where you have to have a certain skill set. So you're already smart and you're already accomplished, and you're here by choice. Even Christina here in the morning, like, we debated about it. We emailed back and forth, and I said, I really think you're going to want to do this, right? Because it's helpful to everything else. You're here and you're motivated. And so what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to take you to places where you feel very uncomfortable. I want you to recognize that's okay. It's okay not to know how to do this. I'm going to try along the way to explain it as much as I can. I did not get it explained to me the way I explain it to you. This is partly why I developed the classes the way I did, because I wasn't seeing anybody teach it to the intellectual level that I think we as smart adults need to understand. All right, so let's go on to it. Today, I'm going to have you start by drawing something with me. And when you know what it is, I want you to, so start by copying. I'm doing a little dot here, and then a circle around the dot, and then a straight line, vertical line, just to the right of the dot. When you've got that, when you know what this is, let me know. You might, in the next few lines, be able to guess. Through the middle of this vertical straight line, I'm going to do another straight line that's horizontal. And then at the bottom of this straight line, I'm going to draw another straight line that goes diagonally till it meets this end. Same on the top. Anybody know what we're drawing? Shout it out.
Is it a car?
A what?
Is it a car?
Good guess, but no. This should help you. It's a little bird. All right. So I'll finish this bird with you very quickly. And then we're going to go on to harder birds. Let's say more complex birds. Isn't it interesting that when you don't know what something is, it's easier to draw that? Observe that about yourself. Observe that. If you can set things in shapes, it helps you. And actually, it's a totally legit exercise to draw upside down. Not you being upside down, but your drawing being upside down. So a kind of exercise that you could try here if you wanted to. I'll leave the printout of this. You can fold it here, actually. You can fold it twice. Give yourself a little boxes. And then put one next to the other. Draw it upside down. See how it goes drawing it upside down? And if you want to, you can even fold it up and do it a quarter at a time, right? So you know that this goes here, and you can see how easy or difficult it is. I'm not going to say this is an easy exercise. It'll take you a little bit while, right? But you can see how this goes, drawing this upside down. And then if you want to, try drawing it right side up. It's entirely harder. There's something about putting something out upside down that shuts the left brain up. The left brain's like yelling all the time. That's a leg, that's a hand, that's a blah, 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 that's a blood, that's a face, that's a glasses. Oh, it's hard. Oh my God, how do I do that? You know, like, and it gets in the way. But if you're just looking at this, something about this kind of disrupts that thought process so that you're able to see the shapes more, which is helpful. And this, which is a grid, helps you kind of see a little bit where to place things. That's an assignment for you to do. In the meantime, we're going to finish this little birdie. From this bottom of this vertical line here, I'm going to draw a horizontal line for his back. Here, at the bottom of that horizontal line, I'm going to go down and up to do a little body with a curved line. Let's do two little legs, which is one leg is two lines, straight lines, and then three curved. Two lines and three curved lines. Wings, usually about halfway across this horizontal line here, I'll draw a curved line up, and then another curved line to meet it, stopping at the top of this curved line, another curved line out, and another curved line down. And then you have choices. You can use shapes to make, there's all kinds of ways to make feathers and a tail. You could go with circles. You could go with straight lines, right, put together. You can do this, circles. You can do whatever you want to kind of finish your little birdie. If you want to, you can put him on a little branch with leaves and berries. So take a minute. You don't have, this is all optional at this point. Make your bird your own bird. Own your bird. Take a minute just to have a good time. We're going to draw more complicated birds but we're starting with this one because once again, it illustrates a principle. I know how smart you guys are, and I know probably most people are able to do this fairly easily. But what we're really trying to understand is conceptually, how do we construct a drawing? It's very different than your left brain would like to tell you. And we will learn about that later. I honestly believe that drawing is a basic skill like reading or writing or math. And I think most people have a kind of sadness. And here's what's really interesting. A few people teach themselves to draw, and they absolutely teach themselves to draw the wrong way. They might have a certain amount of success, but until they learn construction, they're not going to be able to handle perspective issues. They're not going to be able to handle this translation from 3 dimensions to 2, because it defies your logic, your ideas about what should be happening. You need to learn the rules. But the rest of us just sit there and think we can't draw, and we're kind of sad about it. When I used to, as a journalist, kind of feel a little bit blind when I walked into a room. I was a pretty good journalist, but I sometimes struggled to discern what was really happening and what was the most important thing. I felt overwhelmed a lot by details and information. But once I began to draw, I was much more quickly able to get to the point. Drawing taught me how to kind of assess information based on big ideas, small ideas. Like, this is a really, it's a really helpful tool. And I think we all want to do it. I've never met anyone who doesn't want to learn to draw. There are people who all joke that they can't draw. I'm like, give me an hour with you, I'll show you you're wrong, right? But I rarely meet people who are like confident in their drawing, or who say they're not interested. They might say they can't, they don't have that gene, but everybody can. Have I ever met anybody who's really, I met an old lady once who really stubborn. Like, she was in her 80s and an amazing writer when she came to take a class, and she really struggled with these concepts, but she was very funny word wise. And she was always making like really funny jokes. But I can say that I had another lady who came to me as a student at 79, and at 88, she's a freaking genius. Her painting skills are off the hook, amazing. So it didn't take her very long to figure it out, right? It was in her. She just needed that little bit of guidance. I'll show you. She painted a portrait of me, which I keep in the studio, and I'll show you. It's ridiculous. And since it was a surprise for my 50th birthday, like, she didn't get any help from me on a portrait. It's amazing. Anyway, she's amazing. 79, started at 79, painting away. I just talked to her yesterday, painting away at 88 in her studio, making lots and lots of paintings. It's incredible. When you think you've got it, do you guys need to look at this anymore? Let's see where you're at. Yeah, hold it up. What have you got? It's hard for me to hear. Oh, cute, Bobby. I love it. Nice, Agatha. Here, Christina, I'm gonna push you up because it's a little bit bright in there. And oh yeah, lovely. Absolutely. Oh, she did it twice. I love it. I love it. This is great. Excellent. You've got it. So this is not a hard exercise, right? How do we know this? Because this comes from a book called, one of my favorite books, called Drawing with Children. It's written by a woman named Mona. You're laughing, right? Because this book was designed for adults to learn how to draw with their children. And she talks a lot about the difference. Amazing book, if you can get your hands on it. And so we're going to do another exercise from this book, which is drawing these guys, these birdies. So I'm going to start with the easiest one, because I'm because I'm the teacher. So we're going to start here. I'm going to go down like this. Oh, and I'll send this across the thread too before we get going on it too much. Here, we'll do the one bird here. And this bird you can do by drawing a dot for the eye, a little line for the nose, sorry, for the eyebrow. Sorry. 3 lines that turn into a triangle, sort of directly below and to the left of the dot. Notice I'm a little bit using words like beak. I shouldn't be. I should be sticking with just the sort of visual spatial curved line. Then just to the left of this bottom where these 2 straight lines meet, I've got a curved line here. And just to the right of this curved line, I've got a curved line here, and then a slightly smaller curved line inside. And this is my favorite. Here's his little toes. They're just little dots. 2 bigger dots here and 2 little dots inside. And then it's just curved lines. Right? Now I did the easiest one. Your job is to do these and do the rest of them. I cheated. I know. It's terrible. I'm going to remove this for just a second. So I'm going to turn this off for just a second so I can take a picture. Actually, yes, so I can no, you know what? I can do this a different way. I'm going to pop this across. So whoever is not on the thread, you'll want to join the thread. I'm about to send this sheet across the WhatsApp thread. So you can open it in your phone. Here, let's see. I have it somewhere here on my computer. Go ahead. Yes, here we are. So there it is. If you're having trouble seeing it, you can look at it on your phone. So we use the WhatsApp for a couple of reasons. As you can already see, when we try to hold up our drawings, it's really hard to see them sometimes, but it's also fun to have a record of your own progress. So is that good? I can bring it down even a little bit. There we go. And so practice this, right? You are, yes, and Bombi's showing very good practical skills. We're going to get a lot harder really quickly, but I always try to have the first lesson be something that we can grasp, put our hands around, right? It's because drawing is hard. It requires concentration, and you're constantly going to be coming up against your verbal conceptual left brain, which is going to be giving you the wrong information, which is why nobody knows how to draw because it's an entirely different logic system that we have to put into play. I like the logic system of visual spatial because it's a little bit less judgy. You know, verbal conceptual, like our concepts of words and concepts, words like creative and logical have barbs to them, have expectations around them. They're kind of loaded, right? They're loaded. How big or small something is really isn't loaded at all. You're just trying to figure out how big or small it is. So it becomes a much more straightforward observation. And honestly, in this crazy world we live in right now, I think we need this. This is like sensible to me. Like drawing and painting to me now are way more sensible than anything I hear. Way more straightforward as an intellectual concept. What I'm being asked to do is easier and more direct, even if it feels hard. So that's like that story. I don't know if anybody wants to, you may not want to be talking, you may just want to be focusing. So I'll let you just do that right now. Yes, Agatha. Oh, are you just looking? Got it. Got it. Sorry, I thought you were raising your hand. Never mind. Get into the zone of looking and drawing. Also notice that you can't remember more than one shape at a time. So you're going to have to keep looking. One of the mistakes we make as a drawer is we don't look at our source enough. You should be looking at your source more than you're looking at the drawing. And Agatha, I do promise I'm going to switch it up a little bit because I don't want, and Anik, because I know I have taught similar things. So I will, because I'm going to be taking this class over, I will try and switch up the instruction a little bit so that you're not doing the same things you were last year. But this lesson is pretty important in its base. It's really important. You're learning how to talk. You're learning how to communicate visually. Hi, sweetheart. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Jump up. We love animals in this class and children. If they want to come in and say hello, that's great. Oh, I thought I put you in here already, Agatha. I'm sorry. Let me forward this over to you. For some reason, I thought I put you here.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Anyway, I'll forward this. I'm going to forward you so you haven't had a chance to. Here we are. Here we are. This will totally, I also want you to know that it's very easy to be overwhelmed during this process. We're going to talk about a lot. And that's why I like to have people repeat basics, because sometimes it takes a year of practicing them to really understand what you're not, like you have to make the mistakes enough to understand that there's a mistake to be made and how to apply it, right? Definitely drawing and painting are one of those things that you have to muscle memory do, like learning to talk, which is a multi-year process of being able to hear, understand, but then be able to get your mouth to say the things that or learning to write, which is similar. I mean, I remember watching little kids struggle in kindergarten and first grade to even just hold that pencil, and make it do a circle. That is something that you can't do when you're 5 or 6. You just, even unless you've been doing it for a long time, there's a developmental stage you go through. Actually, in this book, Drawing with Children, she talks about that. What is this one? What are the developmental ages that your kid can do certain things. And it's interesting. I might even just read it to you because it's really interesting. So helpful. Here you go. The 4-year-old. Most 4-year-olds are ready to begin the lessons of starting to recreate shape. Be on the lookout for tiredness and allow for breaks. 4-year-olds need constant repetition of new information, so don't be alarmed if they completely forget everything from one week to the next. Hey, that's describing me. Hey. If the 4-year-old is not quite ready yet, give her a couple of months and try again. The 5-year-olds may belong either with the 4-year-olds or the 6 to 8-year-olds. This has nothing to do with intelligence or even eventual performance, but may be directly related to interest and ability to focus. They are apt to leap in abilities overnight once they understand the basic concepts. The 6 to 8-year-old, the child in this age range can hold information longer, but still needs constant reminding to stay visually focused. Isn't that fantastic? This is all like very specific. The 8 to 13-year-old, this is when the self-conscious child begins to, and this is where we all were when we decided we couldn't draw. At this age, the self-conscious child begins to compare her artwork with that of the adult illustrations gracing her toys, books, and clothing. By the way, let my voice just be a kind of ambient noise. You don't have to actively listen to it. Some people like to. I listen to books in the studio all the time when I'm painting. Drown it out or shut or turn the volume off if it's bothering you. Some people like it though. The adult illustrations gracing your toys, books, and clothing. Even children who have been having success with their drawings can suddenly become dissatisfied, regress to less capable levels, and want to quit. This directly coincides with the fact they are letting go of their stick figure drawing style and are more interested in realism. Some children suddenly want to achieve what would be labeled photorealism and desire perfection. Don't be concerned about starting level. Encourage the child to start at any appropriate level and explain how it is very common for children to experience an over-concern for perfection at this age. In most cases, progress is very rapid after you simply bring the fears and dissatisfactions out into the open. Isn't that like mind-blowing? This is just a drawing book. It is how to deal with your child on everything at every level, how to deal with your own inner child. It's amazing. Blows my mind. Also, when you get a chance, I'd like you in the next minute to write down 3 words that describe how you're feeling right now, and then forget about them. Go back to the assignment. So when there's a possible place for a break, just write them down. It doesn't matter what they are. I want you to be truthful. So say wherever you are at, and then we'll talk about them. We'll return to them later. I love the concentration and the focus I'm seeing. That's good. If you're having trouble, take a picture of your piece and send it over the thread. If you're happy with something you're doing, take a picture of what you're doing and send it over the thread. I look at stuff on the thread so that I can pull it up, show it to everybody on the screen, use it for teaching. So if you're needing help, don't just struggle in silence. That's why I'm here. But if you're doing great, just keep going. Christina, I want to tell you, by the way, as I hear of your experience as an arts writer, so much that deep experience of writing and covering the arts, you're reminding me of a woman I met when I was living in Mongolia.
Oh,
She
wow.
was British and she wanted to study Tonka painting. Do you know what that is? It's like the Buddhist temple. So Mongolia was Tibetan Buddhist style Buddhist. And there's a painting school where you paint beautiful Buddhas with lots of little, very detailed, with, on lotus leaves with little golden rays. It's a kind of a religious painting style. And they had a painting school where they teach the monks how to do it. And she
Wow.
wanted to study it, but she couldn't find anybody who was teaching it. So she came to Mongolia and she somehow convinced the monks in the school to let her learn for a year.
Wow.
And amazing, right? Yeah, she would get, so she lived at the monastery. Can you imagine? She lived at the monastery.
Wow.
And she practiced the paint and she did the lessons that the monks did. And she would come to my house for a shower. She didn't have one really. And we would talk about, because she was an interesting dimensional woman. Anyway, so she had a fascinating relationship with one of the monks that never really turned romantic, but was sort of always on the edge there. And then after a year, she went back to the UK and enrolled in the School of Oriental and Asian Studies, SOAS, and found the leading Tonka expert in UK. And
Wow.
I met her a year later, and you know what she said? She said
What?
he knew nothing. She said
Wow.
he knew nothing. She said she learned so much by doing it. That's
Mhm.
not to say you know nothing. I'm not saying that, but
No, but
so there's a value in engaging in yeah, it blew my mind.
yeah.
She was kind of depressed. And I didn't really keep in touch with her, so I don't really know what happened after that.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, isn't that profound? Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something about the process of it's a value to do it, even if you're not going to be a professional artist yourself, to understanding the art and the art process.
Oh,
And
yes.
isn't
Yes.
that an interesting story? Like, and I'll show you afterwards, I'll send a couple of pictures across the thread so you guys can see
Yeah.
what a Tonka looks like. It's very, she used to curse about what she called the golden rays. You'll see. They're like little tiny detailed lines that like go out. Awesome. And I see people are, let's take a little break from this for a moment. I want to hear how this experience, send it across. Yes, I'd like to see some of these across, but tell me how this experience went for you, is going for you. Are you enjoying it? Is it, how's it going? Are you getting results? Yeah, send it across. Send us across so we can see let's look at what we've got. I can call them up here on the screen. I have the capacity to do that. So if you send it across, we can look at it. Yes, struggling with placement and proportion. That's very common. We'll work on it. So you found that you ran out of spaces, right? Yeah, just it's totally valid. Totally valid. Your shapes look great. Here, I'm going to pop this up so people can see it. Christina brings up a really good point, which is proportions. It is so easy to draw things too big. Where are you? Wait, there you are. Here we are. Can you see that? And you see her little note there, right? So what? There we are. So I'm struggling with proportion and placement. So you can see she ran, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the shapes at all. You got them absolutely spot on. But what happens is you ran out of room, right? And this, I don't know if anybody else found this to be a struggle too. The real issue here is that when we look at things, we make them too big. As we focus and concentrate on things, we just make them too big. So one of the ways to address that, which we will start practicing, is that we actually are not going to draw the way I've had you draw these today, starting with the eye. We're going to have you draw the outside bigger shapes first before you get to the smaller shapes. And that is the way to start getting around proportion. But it also is about learning to measure. It's not easy. It's the struggle. Like that's the real struggle. Let's see here. Oh yeah, adorable, Bonvi. Absolutely adorable. Lovely.
Just to add to what Leah said about the proportions and struggle, I'm just repainting the whole middle of my whole center of my painting because of the fact that I fucked up proportions.
Yes, and it's easy to do it. It's easy to do it. Shit,
Yeah.
I just did that.
Yeah.
I just did that on my painting yesterday. It's easy. Yes, it's the struggle. It's how we kind of move things around. So it's learning. Very nice, Bombi. I like these. These are great though. I do like them. And Christina, I kind of don't mind the crops. So what I would suggest is while we're talking about here, hold on. While we're talking about this a little bit, go ahead and if you have any watercolors or colored pencils or with your pencil, kind of create a composition. Christina, I think you can do that with what you've got and it'll be kind of dynamic because of the way that things are being cropped. Or you might move one bird over a little bit so you can get them all in, but I kind of like how that bird on the left is coming in. So now I want you to finish the draw, put them in a scene with what you've got. Put them in a scene, do whatever you want with it. And put them in a trees, put them in, here's an example. Let's see. Here we go, right here. This is the cover. Put them in there's one here too. Here's this one. You can put them in a little scene. Yes. Do whatever you want and work with them wherever they are so that you're going to have to kind of push forward on your paint drawings while learning that. Right? How do I solve? This is all problem solving and composition. I have been thinking I might bring back, if she's willing to come back, Carista Trask to do an abstract painting series, because that is really big on, talk about having it be hard to represent things. Abstraction, abstracting from life. So you have an abstraction and you still have to have a lock on composition and form. And those are still really important elements. So I might have her come and do something because her classes are really good. Let's see. Agata, how was this the second time around? Oh, I like that you've got 2 here.
Yeah, I just focus on the ones that I found the most like complicated since I'm
Good for
also
you.
in the yeah, but I still had the same issue as was it Christina? That you know, running out of space and just making things
So you
way too
made
big.
things too big, right? It's
Yeah.
a lack of like, and that was fully based on my direction. So I didn't give you that instruction intentionally because I wanted you to see how it happens. So you also, every one of us will make things too big and run out of space. You will always do that. Like we will always do that. That is a thing that you're kind of battling. It has to do with, it's funny, I think it's an instinctual problem. Like we are like, from survival perspective, think about it. You need to look at that red berry and decide, is it poisonous or can I eat it? Right? Is that person mad at me and going to hit me, or are they happy and welcoming? Is that Tyrannosaurus Rex run? No, I know people in Tyrannosaurus Rex didn't live at the same time, but you know, like, is that animal running towards me and going to hurt me? Or, you know, so we're used to honing in and picking up actually a lot of visual information, but that means you have to like hone in detail. And that absolutely does not help you in drawing and painting. Not at all. It is absolutely the antithesis to being able to draw or paint, but it's what we all do. We go right in there, get like little tiny details. How many of you have tried to start drawing a face by starting with the eyes? Everybody does it, right? Everybody does it. Absolutely wrong, but everybody does it because that's what we focus on when we look at a face. But really, if you think about it from a logical perspective, it makes more sense to get the shape of the head, find out where the eyes are in relation to the head. Where's the nose? Where's the mouth? What you'll see is that the eyes are halfway down the face. Whoa, way smaller than we think they are, right? And if my head's turned this way, what's going on with this eye and that eye? Yeah, there's something crazy happening there. That's called perspective. And I'm not going to dump that on you right now because it will make your head explode based on, but we will talk about it. And we start to chip away at it because that's a major, and really what it is you have to translate this shape into, you have to understand that on a flat surface, you can't draw back. Right? You can't draw, like, you can't make them equal sizes. On a piece of paper, this side of the face. So if I'm like this is halfway down the face. Look at how this half of the face changes. The angles are higher, it's smaller. Everything is, even though I haven't moved my pencil, right? I haven't moved it. I got to take out your watercolors and watercolor those guys. Put a little color in. So this is the basic idea. I always say this class is like, this particular class is like 90 minutes to 2 hours. You can hang around. We can keep talking, and then you can drift into Lotto's class, which will come into this class if you want. You can stop now and come back. But and work a little bit longer, work another 10 minutes, and then we'll and then we'll kind of formally end class, and we'll figure out what we want to do from there. But work a little bit more on your drawing. See if you can turn it into a complete composition. And I will give you no more instructions than that. Don't worry, I'm going to get really heavy-handed like later, so I want you to have a little bit of, right, Anik? I get pretty heavy-handed in my, like, because I want you to do it the right way. Not meaning that still, there's plenty of room for you to get things done your own way, but I want you to do it, the technique I'm going to get very heavy-handed on. So if I give you a little free time, take advantage. It's not always going to be like that. Because drawing and painting is hard. If anybody has something that they've worked on, Christina, you shared some stuff across the last thread with your grandmom's work or ideas that you're kind of running across. Go ahead and share them across the thread as well. Anything that you'd like to try, anything that you've done that you're happy with. We should also share our successes as well.
I've shared my mistake.
You shared your mistake. All right,
Mhm.
let's take a look.
Yeah. Basically, gonna take me another 3 hours to fix.
Well, yes, that's how much time it takes, right? Your mistake. Ah, yes, I see. Fixing the mistake. Yes, erasing with paint. Let's get there. You've done this one before, haven't you, Annika? No, it's just been in the series, ready to go.
Yeah, this is the fourth of the
Yeah.
series. Yeah,
Part
I
of the
tried.
series.
I tried on Friday the watercolor of it, like a sketch
Oh
of it.
yeah, and it turned out kind of nice, didn't it? So
Yeah,
here's
full
the
of mistakes too, but but it was a sketch. The problem is this branch. It's the tree in the center. It's actually
yeah,
the center of the composition.
the
And
branch on the right.
on
The
the
branch on the
branch on the
right.
right, it's
You're
super
struggling.
tricky because it's not straight. It has a very specific angle, but if I
Yes.
don't get this angle, I'm just gonna ruin the composition.
Well, here's my
Ah.
suggestion to you. Okay. Instead of thinking of that tree as having just one angle, you need to think about a
Mhm.
tree like this. It's over many years, it goes towards the direction of the sun. So it goes like this for a little while, and then it goes down,
Mhm.
and then it comes over, and then it goes
Mhm.
back. So you need to
Yeah.
break, every time there's a change in plane, you need to break that up. That will help you see what's happening. The first drawing class I ever took was a drawing class on trees, drawing trees in a park. And the teacher was amazing. And she really taught me, she sat us in front of trees and then she was like, look, you go, as the branch comes at you this way, you draw your lines up like that. And as the branch goes away from you, you draw them down like that. And look at how it comes this way, this way, that way. We think of like the arm, the branch as a straight thing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It's very organic.
Yeah.
It has a very
Yeah.
much more planes to it.
Exactly.
So work on that. Work on it. Work on identifying those. If you want me to, I can look at it and sort of show them to you on your picture.
If you don't mind, because I'm struggling with the
Yeah, let me pull it out here.
relationship of this because there's a branch in a corner that is closer.
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
tree
So
is
part of it is you may
further.
need to make this skinnier, but I'll show you.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do. I'm gonna pull
And
it
it's a
off
kind of
the.
I get how it is, just I didn't find it the way I haven't found it the way
You're fighting it.
how to basically transport it in the on the canvas.
Here, let me see if I
Hmm.
can split that up for you. I don't think you guys need to be looking at my, here, hold on. Let me see if I can do that for you. I'm gonna leave on this one. I want to make sure what we're looking at here. Let me grab that on WhatsApp. So. Save. Okay, let me get it. I have to pull it out of one program and into another so I can edit it. Done, and then. So it's like. Let's do this. No, let's do this. So it's like this. I think that's one break here's another, and here's another. So here's where I see shifts in direction happening. Sorry, it looks very sloppy because
worries.
of the, because I can't manipulate, because on my phone, my fingers are like kind of shaky. But let's see what I can get to. I think it'll help. Also, it's skinnier, right? That's like the simple. You see, you've broken it into 2, and I see 4. I see
Yeah,
4 plane
that's what I
changes.
thought. Yeah.
So let's see. This will happen.
Right, demo.
Hang on. Getting there.
Mm-hmm.
That helpful?
Oh yeah, you're right.
So treat each little shape differently, and that will help you get the, and make sure you get the thinness. You can make it, it's very easy to paint it too fat. You can trim it in with your sky color in the background after.
Yeah, but
Does that help?
definitely. Yes, thank you very much.
Great.
It's basically the drawing problem.
Right. Let's see. Okay, all of them. Yeah, that's pretty funny, Christina. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome. Your grandmother's studio is going to be fodder for all of us for a long time. Great creativity. I think this is awesome. Your background as an arts reporter is so deep. Imagine what this is going to do to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, it's so funny you mentioned earlier, really studying the practice of it to understand it. And that was the whole idea behind the arts journalism program I went to at USC. So a lot of my peers were actually practitioners. Like one of my peers, she was a trained classical musician, other people were really into film and acting and had aspirations of also being filmmakers as well, in addition to covering film journalism in the entertainment industry. I was kind of a jack of all trades, sort of master one, but I did do a lot of theater and dance, and I guess
Right. So this is just the aspect you didn't cover as much.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so I guess my emphasis was like sort of like dance criticism and like performing arts sort of thing.
Right. Right. But like this is like you will look at a painting differently once you go through this. Once you go through the process of making one, and then you might be surprised that you're better at it than you think.
Yeah.
And what you do with that, of course, is like I don't recommend that everybody do what I did and quit your day job and like become a painter. It was a very confusing 10 years before it really settled in. But I would say whether you make it an avocation or a full-on career, there's a lot of values to learning it. It teaches you how to look at things and break them down. And I think a lot of people, this is what my experience is in selling art. A lot of people don't trust their own instincts when it comes to buying art. That's why they have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Because they don't, they think they don't know what's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if you have a reaction to a piece, you don't have, if you have the words for it, like for me, I feel like I'm constantly training people. Don't like rely on what other people tell you. Decide, do you like it? And part of what it has to do with is who the artist is. Do you know them? Do you know of them? What's their story? Part of it is what they're trying to do. Part of it is who they are, like at the time that they're doing it. Like there's a lot of really valid reason. And then part of it is just that you like it. It makes you feel something when you look at it. Yesterday in class, we had I posted the second painting I ever made at 32 on the thread. And yesterday in class, and it was a painting of a building in Tbilisi, Georgia, because I lived in Armenia for 2 years. And the Armenian woman on the thread was like, oh my God, that looks like my home. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, it is right, because it's that part of the, I mean, it's not exactly Armenia, but it's a little more Shuka right away. And we had this conversation about how I could paint something in 2004, 2, 3, something like that.
Mhm.
And from my own perspective, that could mean something to her later, right?
Yeah.
It means something. She's kind of lonely. Her family's there and she's here. And, like there's a lot of totally legit, valid reasons to have a reaction in a positive way to a piece of art. And that you should have it in your life for that reason.
Oh
Um,
yeah. It's
yeah.
such a personal choice. And actually I've found my grandmother's like logs of sales and who she sold
Fascinating.
to or gave.
She was the real deal.
Yeah, she exhibited in some galleries like in Laguna Beach and Sedona. Oh, I don't have it here. I had a little bit of her logbook in here too. And she had the names of the paintings too. And I remember as a kid, she would have critiques with her friends and family, and we would help her name the paintings when she was,
Nice.
yeah.
What was her name?
Nancy Mendoza. She was pretty
Great.
active in like the 80s and 90s in like the Laguna Beach sort of art school scene. So
I
she,
feel like her name sounds familiar, so I might look up her work. That's interesting.
yeah,
Um, Here, I'm looking up Tonka painting right now so I can get.
here, I'll send her little bio in the catalog
Please.
of Southern California artists of the 1980s. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and actually she trained with Roger Armstrong, who he was a cartoonist and he did a lot of stuff. He drew like Bugs Bunny and a lot of pretty
Oh
famous
yeah, she was the
cartoons.
real deal.
Yeah.
So, part of your journey is to like document, is to try and bring her into the permanent record,
Yeah.
like more.
I mean, actually it would be really cool. We were thinking maybe we could approach maybe I think like the Laguna Beach Art Museum or some of the Orange County art museums and see if
It's a good idea.
they would
It's a good
like any of
idea.
her work.
And
Just so much.
also you can keep showing her work. And also, I
Mhm.
have a great great aunt who was a painter in the Santa Fe art scene in the
Oh, wow.
1920s. And she moved to Santa Fe in 1920. She's a
Mhm.
remarkable artist, and her house was on Canyon Road. But because she wasn't married, like she and Georgia O'Keeffe were roommates at the Art
Oh,
Students League of
wow.
New York. She got there right before Georgia did. They weren't
Wow.
really friends. Nobody was really friends with Georgia. She was kind of a bitch, but like, and my aunt, everyone loved. I hate to say this, but I mean, it's absolutely validly true that everybody loved her. But my family recently, she left. It's a long story, but she left her house to the Quaker meeting when she died in 1966 to
Oh,
turn into
wow.
a museum and use as a meeting house. And the Quakers
Oh,
never really did that. So my family, Matt, we found out that they were trying to sell the house privately, which my aunt had specifically said they couldn't do. And
mhm.
so we blocked it and bought it ourselves,
Wow.
and turned it into a museum last year.
Wow. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So that legacy, what's really interesting is that she was a very integral part, sounds like your grandmother, very integral part of the art scene. But because she wasn't married to Alfred Stieglitz, the most
Mm,
important art dealer in the world at that time,
right,
she didn't have the lasting staying power
right.
of other people. And so it's up to us. We've now turned her house into a house museum. It's a lot the same as the way
Mm,
she was when she was alive. It has a
that's
big
so
giant
cool.
garden. Yeah. So how you create legacy for, like, you have a kind of legacy to build there for your grandmother. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
that's so cool. What's the name of the museum in
The Olive Rush Art
yeah.
Studio and Art Center. And you can follow it on Instagram as Olive Rush Studio, Olive Rush Studio. On Instagram, we have a website, oliverush.org.
Okay.
We're only open because it took all the family money to buy it.
Yeah.
Because don't believe that Quakers aren't greedy about money. Don't want a lot of money. Um, well, some Quakers. It cost us all the money that we had in the family to buy it. And so we haven't been able to staff it except volunteer by our board. So, and none of us live there. So none of the family
Okay.
members live there. So we're constantly I go in 3 times this year to help staff it, run events and keep it going and build our membership up into the point where we can, you know, make enough money to hire an executive director and have it open all the time. But it's the process of starting a museum is no easy feat. Ladies, I
Yeah.
will tell you that.
Wow.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. She's like
Yeah.
right there all the time, you know. Your grandmother will be right there. She probably already does have her little hand on your shoulder, but you'll feel her more
Yeah.
as you look at her work and make that available for people to see. Yeah, that little logbook alone would be an amazing museum exhibition.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love
Yeah. Not to like lay you a big assignment on you, like on this class.
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about going back to school for art therapy, and
Mhm.
there's a program, and I was like looking at the requirements, and it's like you need 10 images, like you need a portfolio, and I'm like, I don't have a portfolio, so I'm like,
All
I
right.
need to at least do that.
Agatha, thank you. How'd that go today? Before you leave, can I ask you one question?
Yep.
Give me 3 words about how you feel right now, and then share how you felt at the beginning and the middle of class.
Oh, right. How I'm feeling now, I mean, this time it hasn't really changed. I remember the first time I did this exercise, and I remember I started really restless and then calmed down. Right now, I'm still quite like stressed because I still have a lot of stuff to do. That's why
To
it's
do.
really
Yeah. Fair enough.
So,
All right.
yeah, so
Great.
I wrote down restless and like slightly stressed, and I'm still that.
And you don't have the new thing that you were expecting. You don't have the new teacher you were expecting. So I get that. I promise I'll be tweaking the concept so you'll be right back. You'll be able to get
Yeah.
something out of this series as well.
I
We'll
look
see you later,
forward to
honey.
it. It was still nice to do the exercises. So thank you so much for today. It was nice
Good.
meeting everybody. See you
Good.
next week. Bye.
See you next week. Christina or Bobby, can you share at all your words at the beginning of class, middle, and end?
I think I wrote down that I was a little bit nervous because my grade back in school in art wasn't the best. And it would always sort of not my mom's favorite part of the report card, where she'd be like, oh my God, like, why is this? You guys are good at everything else. And you might want to just practice a little bit and you can do this, etc.
Yeah, well, your teacher probably wasn't very good. I can guarantee that right now. Next time, yes. And
I
now,
remember we used
middle?
to do in the middle, I was very focused during the exercise, and I think I was a lot more curious than I was initially, and a little bit like with a hint of excitement. And I think right now I'm feeling good about what we did in the
Accomplished.
yeah. And I feel like, I think I like to see where I go.
That is a very classic trajectory. So it's very normal to feel nervous. It's very often normal to feel frustrated in the middle of class too, like because you're trying to do something and it's hard. And then
this one was very frustrating for me, the last bird that I drew.
Yeah. Let's see.
Separately.
Oh, he came out all right. But yes, a lot of work, right? Hard, because you're kind of pushing yourself up. Let me see. So yes, that is something to observe, which is that art shifts us and kind of to learn which stress is the stress to embrace, which is that anxiety and that nervousness at the beginning. I promise I won't leave you hanging. I'm going to try and help you if I can, or I'll help you adjust your expectations so that you know where you're supposed to be in this process, right? Because it's a long road. So a long, wonderful journey. So very nice. I thought you did great. I thought you did fine. Tell that to your mom. Tell her your teacher gave you an A+ on this like assignment. If there are
Thanks.
such things. And if you want to hang around and keep working a little longer, Lotto will come in. I'm going to turn the recording off.